Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, how you doing? This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Glad to be here with you. Maybe it's your first time tuning in. Thank you for joining. I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their great nonfiction book into an audiobook. But here's the trick of the trade. It's having you, as the nonfiction author, narrate your own audiobook. It is crucial and so important that you do narrate your own audiobook because it is your story. There is no one else that can tell that story better than you because you've not only written it, but you've lived it. It's in your heart and soul. You were compelled to write this great nonfiction story in the first place. So really, you are the best one to narrate your own audiobook. And today's episode, we are going to be talking more in detail about three basic aspects of things that I hear from authors. And I call this episode the Great Audiobook Debate. And I will present three questions throughout the show, and then we're going to talk about it, the pros and cons. But first, I just wanted to let you know that as an audiobook coach and producer, I do have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And this is it's a 6-week do it with you coaching program that takes you, the nonfiction author, from setup and preparation of your own recording space to learning the fine art of audiobook narration, how to be a great voiceover artist, because you can do it, you really can. And then we'll get you published, first of all, for sure, on the, I call it the AAA, Audible, Amazon, and Apple. Those are the most popular, and they seem to be the go-to distribution platforms that most people go to find their audiobooks. Or you can be published on other distribution platforms, and if that is something that works best for you, which is something that we talk about during the enrollment period, then I will definitely help you with that aspect as well. So if you are at all interested in what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, the first step for you is to schedule a call with me. I would love to speak with you and find out more information about your book, give you more details about the audiobook coaching program. So those of you who can check out the video portion of the podcast, it's right there for you on the screen. That link there is where you can schedule your free audiobook consultation call. So there's the link for those of you who may be listening to an audio only version of the podcast. The link is this: bit.ly. It's bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Again, that's bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. So that's all you need to do. You can always go to robertlanecoaching.com as well. There's plenty of places up there for you to click on the link to book a call. And you will talk with me directly, by the way. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, and I'm remembering to do this at the beginning of the show, and that is I give you a freebie. And that freebie is an audiobook narration reference guide. And there's some really great information in this guide where you can find out about mic placement and other things that'll help you do a great narration. And also talk about other important aspects of doing an audiobook, and that is the intangibles, getting the emotion and the energy that you need to have when you do an audiobook. So grab your free audiobook narration reference guide. Again, the link for that is also a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/narration reference guide. Again, bit.ly/narration reference guide. So grab your free guide. And by the way, I do want to mention this to you. I am doing a summer special for my audiobook coaching program. I've lowered the cost of the program. And if you do mention the podcast here on the Bold Brave TV network, which we are streaming live on, I'll give you an extra 10% off. All right. So schedule your call, let's talk, and I'll give you a discount as well. All right. So let's dive into our topic again, the great audiobook debate. Okay. So let's start with the first question. One of the first questions that I hear a lot is who is the best person to narrate my audiobook? And I do hear that a lot. And we're going to hit two different aspects, fiction authors and nonfiction authors. Right now, I want to talk about nonfiction authors because that's mainly who I deal with in my audiobook coaching program. So, who is the best person to narrate your audiobook? You. You are. The author is. Now, the debate comes in when people say, you know what, I don't feel like I have the skill set to be able to narrate my own audiobook. And my rebuttal to that is you do. You do have the skill set to do it, even if you've never done any kind of public speaking, or maybe you're a little bit gun shy about having a microphone in front of you and being able to narrate your audiobook and tell your story verbally. I mean, you've told your story in written form, of course, but now you need to, take it to the next level. But you really do have the skill set. So maybe there's something that is stopping you from moving forward in narrating your audiobook. I do hear a lot about authors saying, "Oh, man, I don't have a good voice, or I don't like my voice, or I don't think my voice has the quality that I want." But you have to remember this: as a nonfiction author, you are an author brand. This is your brand, and part of your brand is your voice. So, what is your author brand? Your author brand is everything that encompasses you, everything that makes you who you are. That even comes down to not only how you sound, your voice, but it also comes down to what your morals and values, your belief systems, your habits, everything that makes you you, because that is what makes you so unique. And all that uniqueness is already in your written word. When you wrote your book, you have this great nonfiction book, or maybe you're in the process of writing your book, you're putting your unique stamp on your book. That's what makes your style. Like authors, if you are a horror fan, maybe you love Stephen King. Well, why do you love Stephen King? Because Stephen King has a certain style of writing, or maybe you love romance novels, or maybe you like reading memoirs or that kind of thing. But each author has their unique stamp in their written word, and that's what attracts their readers to them. So it's the same thing, same concept when it comes down to you as a nonfiction author. This is all part of who you are. Your readers are attracted to you because of your writing style. So even if you, let's say you're a coach and you've written a book about, life coaching, or maybe weight loss, or, career coaching, romance, maybe you're a romance coach, a relationship coach, and, people are attracted to your style of teaching and your style of writing because of your unique personality. There can be another writer who does the same thing that you do, or something similar. Maybe they're just as qualified as you are, as a coach, no matter what type of coaching that you do. But maybe your readers don't want to really resonate, or maybe they don't resonate with this other author or coach who has a book as well. So that's why putting your unique stamp, which is in your written word, and bringing it out in your voice is really so important, because that does encompass the author brand. That's what it's all about. So again, the best person to narrate your nonfiction book is you. It really is. Now, you have to believe in yourself, believe in your voice. You had the confidence to write the book, right? You've got this book out there, you've published it, or maybe you are working on your book right now. You have the confidence to sit down and write. So when it comes to narrating your audiobook, you have to have that same level of confidence. You have to love your voice. You have to believe in your voice and believe in yourself and believe in your ability to be able to do a great narration. And you really can. Now, if there is some kind of barrier or something that is stopping you from doing that, you need to get down to the root cause and figure out what is it that's keeping you from narrating your own audiobook. Is there something? Did something happen in the past, or what is it that is causing this lack of confidence? Maybe, or again, it could be a fear that is stopping you from narrating your own audiobook. And thinking that you don't have what it takes really does boil down to confidence or lack of. And maybe it does boil down to having a fear. I know that I've worked with a couple of authors who had bad experiences when they were a kid, being forced to do something in the public eye, or maybe at a party or something, that their parents made them do that they didn't want to do because they were not confident, or, they're just shy. And being forced to do something that you don't want to do, especially when you're a kid, that does ingrain itself in your subconscious. And that experience does come out. Now, maybe you may not remember the exact experience, but what does surface is the feeling that happened when you had that experience. So when you are in a situation where you do feel uncomfortable, then those feelings come up. And then that creates that barrier that stops you from moving forward. Now, it really is important for you as a nonfiction author to narrate your own audiobook because, again, it is your story and only you can tell your story the way that you intended it to be heard. And you are the most qualified to do that. Now, I do want to touch a little bit about fiction authors because that is a little bit different. Now, if you're a fiction author, maybe you've written this great story and it is a narrative, then you still can narrate that book and get the emotion and the feelings across as the narrator of the book. Now, if you are a fiction writer who has, maybe it's a fantasy book or a romance novel or something that has a variety of characters in your book, and you're dealing with not only multiple characters, but maybe they're from all different parts of the country or the world, and everybody has an accent, an English accent, an American accent, a German accent, a French accent, and you have all these characters in your book, then to make that book really come to life, it may be worth it for you to hire a professional voiceover artist. And if you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, not getting a bunch of friends together and say, "Hey, man, let's do this book. I mean, you be that character and you be that character," because it's not going to sound professional. And you can actually hire a fantastic female voiceover artist who can do multiple voices, or maybe a male voiceover artist who can also do multiple voices, and just have two people that you can hire who are professionals who can take on the roles of multiple characters that can bring your fiction book to life. Now, there is where I would suggest for you to hire a narrator. But when it comes to nonfiction, I say this all the time, and I'm a firm believer of this, and that is all nonfiction authors do need to narrate your own audiobook. Whether you've never had experience with that, or maybe you have had experience doing speaking engagements or talking, in public, and you're comfortable with that. But whatever the case, you do need to narrate your own audiobook because no one can tell that story better than you. All right, you're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I have another question that we're going to dive into, and maybe I'll tell you what it is now so you can think about it during the break. And that is, why should I have an audiobook in the first place? Think about that, because that's part of the great audiobook debate. We'll be right back. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And we're back here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Again, you can find out more information about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. Today's episode is the great audiobook debate. And the question that I left you with before we took the break was, why should I have an audiobook in the first place? We're going to dive into that. But before we do, again, if you are interested in turning your nonfiction book into an audiobook that you narrate as the author, as you should, by all means, schedule a free call with me. We do an audiobook consultation call, and I'd love to speak with you, find out more about your book, and give you more details about my audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And you can be published on the AAA, Audible, Amazon, and Apple by the end of the 6-week program. All you have to do is schedule a call, and it's that simple. So, of course, there's a link on my website, but you can also grab this link as well, and that is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Schedule your free call. We'd love to speak with you. And of course, everybody who tunes in, and you can even go to my website to grab the free audiobook narration reference guide that gives you some great tools and techniques and tips about how to do a great audiobook narration. The link to grab that is this as well, bit.ly/narration reference guide. That's bit.ly/narration reference guide. Grab your free copy. It's my gift to you. And again, you, as the author, need to narrate your own audiobook. So why should you have an audiobook in the first place? Well, let's talk a little bit about stats, okay? One of the biggest stats that you more than likely are aware of, but if you're not, you know, the audiobook world has been growing and expanding over the last several years, and it continues to grow and expand. Matter of fact, back in 2019, audiobook revenue surpassed ebook revenue. And that gap continues to widen and widen and widen. More people are going for audiobooks first before they go to the other formats of your nonfiction book. So again, as the author, as part of your author brand, it is crucial for you to have an audiobook out there in your own voice so that you maintain the integrity of your author brand and preserve the uniqueness of your voice, which is, again, already in your written word. When you do your narration, it just totally makes sense. Okay, so another stat, of course, is that the audiobook world continues to grow and expand, roughly at about a rate of 26.4% annually. So every year it grows another 26.4%. I mean, they're talking about let's see, in the year 2030, that we're going to be in the billionth, like $30 billion of revenue being made from audiobooks worldwide. That's a phenomenal number. And it's really important for you to have an audiobook so that you can be tapping into this market. And there are so many people who actually go and get audiobooks first before they even look at the other formats, which means that you will be exposing yourself to an audience that may not even realize that your book is out there. So it is a great way to get yourself out there, to reach an audience that would love to hear you tell your story. And the other great thing about having an audiobook is that people will also get your ebook, paperback, or hardcover, especially if you have a book that's just really fascinating. I mean, I love listening to an audiobook. And, if there's something that, especially if it's a self-help book or a memoir or something that just has really great information in it, I'm not only buying the audiobook, but I will also purchase the paperback version because I like, the physical book, and I will highlight things in that book. And as I'm listening, and it's just a really great experience. So that's another reason of having an audiobook, is that it can help boost sales for the other formats of the book that you already have it in. So you have your ebook, you have your paperback, you have your hardcover, or maybe you don't, but it doesn't matter. That's just another format. But most importantly, you need to have an audiobook, because now you're giving your readers and listeners options. And again, this is your author brand. You're the brand. Your ebook, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook is your product. You're offering these great products to your readers and listeners, and you're giving them options and you're giving them a choice. The other great thing about you having an audiobook is that it does open doors, especially if you are a coach or an entrepreneur or a teacher or an educator or somebody who also provides an additional product or service. Because when people see that you have a book and they know that they can hear you tell your story in audiobook form, they are more than likely to not only take you more seriously, but they consider you the expert in your field. And that really does help get people to want to work with you, especially if you're a coach. You have a coaching program and you've written a book, and now you have an audiobook. So now people can actually hear how you speak and how you coach and how your personality resonates with them, and they're going to sign into your coaching program because they love how you sound and they really feel like they want to work with you. Now, speaking of that, there is a great benefit for you having an audiobook in your own voice, because what it does is it creates a relationship, I would say, or a bond with the listener. It's a direct connection to the listener, and the listener will feel like you're speaking directly to them because you have your unique stamp and your unique voice, and you're telling your story. And as a listener, they feel like you're talking directly to them. And that does establish a connection, which is great, which is why they want to follow you. And maybe they're looking forward to buying the other formats of your book. Or if you're going to be writing another book, man, they're just excited to be able to hear you with your next book. So developing that connection is really important. Now, maybe you are a poet, or maybe you write children's books. You definitely need to be narrating your own audiobook for sure, because storytelling, that's what you're doing. Now, if it's a children's book, it's totally in your unique style. And especially if you're a poet, it's your poetry. You're reciting your words the way you want them to be heard. That's why it is so important for you to narrate your own audiobook. And as I mentioned before the break, narrators are great for a specific purpose. And we talked about, how fiction authors would be better off having a narrator to do character voices and accents and that kind of thing to bring their book to life. But when it comes to you as a nonfiction author, a narrator can be great, and they'll do a great job if you hire the right professional. The problem, though, and the issue is, and this is where my rebuttal to your debate is, um, they're going to interpret your book their way. No matter how great of a narrator they are still going to interpret your words, your written word, into how they think it sounds to them. And what happens is that it doesn't preserve the integrity of your author brand because it's still their interpretation. So maybe there are words or phrases or concepts that they are expressing in their way. That's not the way that you would express it had it been you narrating your own audiobook. That's why it really is important for you to be the narrator of your own audiobook, as it does preserve the integrity of your author brand, and then you are expressing yourself the way that you want to be heard. Okay. The other great thing about narrating your own audiobook is that it does lead to other gigs. Now, I mentioned about you, if you are a coach or if you have a product or service that you offer, again, that does bring in business, which is great income. Especially there are coaches that I've worked with who are high ticket coaches who offer very specific services. And if somebody hears their audiobook and signs up with them, they may sign a $5,000 or $10,000 client, depending on what their coaching program is. But so that definitely brings in revenue, so that you're not only solely reliable on the income from the book itself, because that's the other side of the debate that I get from authors. It's like, well, I have to sell 400, 500 audiobooks or whatever to make it worth my while. If you're only focused on book sales, audiobook sales, unless you have a great marketing team or how to you have great marketing skills, then that's great. And if that is your sole focus, then you really need to hire maybe the right people, marketing team, to help you reach that goal. All right. But what's great about having an audiobook, and why you need one in the first place, is that it does open doors. I had a client who wrote a great book about how she overcame cancer. And she did her audiobook. Not a professional speaker, but I'll tell you, what an emotional book. She put her heart and soul into her narration, and it is an incredible book. And since she did her audiobook, she is now booking speaking engagements at hospitals, at cancer treatment centers, at places that she knows that her story can really help people. And she's being hired because of her book and because of her audiobook, and getting these great paid speaking gigs. The other thing that happened with her is that because of the interest in her story, that she has now put together a great program to help cancer patients through the process of dealing with the emotional aspects of it, because she went through it herself, and she has such a great story to tell. And she's created a program for that she sells not only to individual patients, but also to hospitals as well, that use her program as a teaching tool to help the patients that go through the hospital. So it opened up a lot of doors. And that's how you have to really look at yourself, not only as an author and an author brand, but it does open doors to other possibilities. As an audiobook coach and producer, before this was my main focus, I still am a life coach and a career coach, and I do speaking engagements as well around the country to talk to a variety of groups and companies and businesses and corporations from that aspect as well. It's a great way to get out there. And my book and my audiobook has helped with that aspect of my business. And of course, being able to go to book conventions and author conventions and things of that nature to share my knowledge as an audiobook coach and producer is a wonderful thing as well. So it does open doors. That's something that you really need to keep in mind. And that's why you need to have an audiobook in the first place, because it does open up other doors for you, not only in selling your book and selling your audiobook where you get your revenue from there, but there are so many other opportunities that will come your way because you've narrated your own audiobook. All right. All right. So we do have to take another quick break. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Now, question number 3 that we're going to talk about in the next segment is this. So think about this. How hard can it really be to narrate my own audiobook? Well, we're going to tackle that when we come back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go away. We will be right back here on the Bold Brave TV network.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hey, my friends, welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Glad you're here. I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Again, robertlanecoaching.com is my website, which gives you all the information about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. Oh, by the way, if you are curious to hear what some other authors sound like, and these are not professional speakers, these are authors just like you who narrated their own audiobook. If you go to robertlanecoaching.com, just scroll down the homepage. I have little clips of authors who have narrated their own audiobook, and you can hear how they did their narration. And I think they've done such a fantastic job. And I know that you can absolutely do a great job, 100%. Now, the question that I left you with was, how hard can it really be to narrate my own audiobook? You just hit record. I could set up my phone and talk into my phone, or just get some audio recording program and just do it. I mean, how hard can it really be? Well, my advice to you and my rebuttal to that is this. You really need to understand what the process is to create a great audiobook. And there are a lot of moving parts to doing an audiobook. You don't just grab your book and then open it up and just start reading and reading and reading and reading, and say, okay, I'm done. There's a lot more to it. If you're not familiar with the process of what it takes to create an audiobook, let me just go through the basic steps. First of all, when you are recording your audiobook, everything is done in sections, and since you're doing it in sections, that's separate audio files. So, for example, in my book, I have 14 chapters in this book, and so that's 14 separate audio tracks. Then you also have to consider opening credits, closing credits. If you have an introduction, maybe you have a foreword or a prologue, dedication page, acknowledgments, an afterword or an epilogue, any other sections of your book, they're all separate audio files. So you may actually have, 15, 20, 30, maybe even 40 different audio files that make up the entire audiobook. So everything is recorded in pieces, and that's just how it's done, and that's how you submit it for publication. Okay. Now the other thing, people say, oh, how hard is it to record? Well, sure. I hit record and I start going. That's great. But what are you going to do afterwards? Is your audio files meeting the exact specifications for publication? Probably not. Probably not. Are there any extraneous sounds that are happening in the background that may have gotten into your narration? More than likely. Is there any kind of buzzing noise or what we call the noise floor in audio terms? If the noise floor is high and it's competing with what you are saying with your voice, guess what? Your audiobook will be rejected. It'll get rejected. So there are other things that have to happen after you do the recording. Okay, it has to be edited and cleaned up and made sure that it meets the exact specifications for publication, which means, unless you're an audio expert, you're going to have to hire an audio editor to go through your audiobook, and a good audio editor will go through everything, in real time and listen to everything in real time to make sure that there isn't something that maybe there's a little flub on a word, or maybe there's a mispronunciation, or maybe there's, a mouth noise that can be removed. It's more than just saying, oh, I'm going to, run it through some noise reduction app or something that'll just clean it up and then everything will be fine. Because there are going to be other things happening in your audiobook that those programs won't catch. Okay. So you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who can go through your audio and make sure, again, that it's clean, that it sounds great, and that, most importantly, it meets the exact specifications for publication. Okay. The other thing about doing an audiobook, yourself from beginning to end, it's not just hitting record and going. You have to figure out how are you going to get it published. You want to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple? Well, you have to create an account for publication. You have to go through and sift through all this stuff to figure out how to even, get everything together. You have to have your audiobook artwork a certain way. There's specs for that. That's different from the specifications for your actual book. Like if you go, like if you looked up my book, Lights Action You on Amazon, you'll see the audiobook. If you click the audiobook version, you're going to see that the artwork is, and there you go, there's the link if you'd like to download the book, please do. If you look at the artwork for the audiobook, it's not going to be in the same rectangular shape. It's a different square shape, and that's the requirement. So you have to make sure that your artwork matches. You have to go through your descriptions and make sure that everything is perfect and everything is labeled perfectly and that you're uploading your files correctly. And again, they do have to meet the exact specifications, because when you're doing your uploading, if there's a problem with the file, it'll get rejected immediately. So there are a lot of moving parts. That's why it's not just a simple hit the record button and you're off to the races. Okay, there are things that you need to consider when you are doing your audiobook. Okay, the other thing that you need to think about is your delivery. Okay, even people who have experience speaking, or maybe I was an actor. I acted in plays in my hometown, or maybe maybe you did things professionally, and that's great because it will help you when it comes to your audiobook narration. But you have to be very careful to not allow the ego take over and think, I got this, it's a piece of cake. Because again, just like with any professional, you have to have not only the skill, but you do need to practice. You do need to get yourself in the right frame of mind. You do need to be present, and you do need to be able to bring the most important aspect of an audiobook, in my opinion, is the intangibles. And that is your emotion and your energy and your core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, because that purpose is what comes through in your audiobook narration. So if you're, all, cocky with your ego and you're coming up there and saying, yeah, piece of cake, and you come off that way, that's not going to be a good experience for the listener, because they're going to hear that, and that is an intangible, and an attitude like that, an egoistic attitude, will come through, and that's not what you want. You don't want ego. You want authenticity. You want conversationalism. You want people to feel like you are sitting, across from, their best friend, having a conversation at a coffee house or something, and you're telling your story, and they are very compelled and they are really engaged in what you have to say. That's what you need to get across. So it's not just a simple hit the button and start reading. The other thing that you also have to remember is that you can't have the paperback version when you're reading your audiobook, because you're going to hear that. You're going to hear page turns if you're doing it, and that is not acceptable in an audiobook. Okay. So make sure that when you are recording your audiobook, and I tell this to my clients all the time, have the ebook version, have a digital version, put it on your iPad and you can just do a little finger swipe. No one's going to hear it, and you can keep on doing your narration, and it'll be nice and clean and sound really great. So again, it is a process. All right. It really is a process to do it, and to do it right. When you wrote your book, did you hire a team of people to help you with the other aspects of what it takes to publish your nonfiction book? More than likely, the answer is yes. or you know somebody who is a professional in the book business. Some people hire book coaches. When I wrote my book, I hired a great book coach, and it really helped me get focused and helped me with the process of writing my book. And I wrote it way faster than I ever thought was even humanly possible. And it was because I had a great coach. All right. And through the process, I also hired a great editor, someone to format the book to make sure it's in the proper format, a cover designer who created the cover for me. So there's all these different little pieces, and that's what you did, hopefully, for your nonfiction book, is that you hired a great team of people to help you, who are professionals in their specific niche that can help you. Here's a cover designer, here's an editor, here's a story, someone who can do a proofreading, here's a book coach. Whatever profession that they are, that they're experts in, can definitely help you. And it's the same approach when it comes to doing your audiobook. Hire an audiobook coach. This is why I do what I do. And for me, it's super rewarding to hear how an author can bring so much emotion and feeling into their narration. And I tell you, I've helped many clients with their audiobook. And when I'm listening to their book, I really do get sucked into their story. I am like, wow, this is great, because as they're recording their audiobook, they're sending me the files for me to edit, because I am an audio book coach and producer, which means that I am a professional editor, which I've done for, 20 plus years at least as an editor, and I've worked in the entertainment business for many, many, many years. So I have that experience. So when you do work with me, you get the complete package. So when authors are sending me their audiobook for me to do the editing, when I'm done with the editing, I output it, and that's when I really get to listen. And I am sucked into their story every single time. It's fantastic. And if I don't have the next chapter to edit, I'm like, hey, when are you going to send your next chapter? I want to know what happens. Now, granted, I could go ahead and read ahead in their book and, find out what, the next thing that happens in the next chapter. But I really love listening to the author tell their story in their own voice, and that's the beauty of it. So, again, editing is crucial. And those aspects, those technical aspects, really are super important. So it's not just hitting record and then you're done. Okay, there are a lot of moving parts to create an awesome audiobook. All right. So if you are interested in narrating your own audiobook, which I hope you are, because as I say, every nonfiction author really does need to narrate their own audiobook, then by all means reach out to me, and I would love to help you with your audiobook. We are going to take a break in just a little bit, but and I'll talk more in detail about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. But again, that question of, hey, how hard can it really be? Hire the people that can help you do it and do it right and do it professionally, okay? Because it makes all the difference in the world. The one thing that I am a firm believer of is you do not cut corners. And one of my catchphrases, of course, is you are the CEO of you, because you are an author brand. This is your business. Your products are your ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook. You do not cut corners. You want to put the best products out there. This is what represents you as an author brand. You do not cut corners. You do not cheapen your brand. If you hire a mediocre narrator to do your audiobook, that's a big mistake, because you're not preserving the integrity of your author brand. The other mistake that I hope you never make is this, and that's getting an AI generator to do a voice. I don't care how realistic it may sound to you. That's the worst thing you can do, because you are cheapening your author brand. Because a computer generated voice is not you. How is that representing you? How does that represent the subtle nuances of how you speak? It doesn't. It's not you. You need to represent yourself 100% fully in your own voice. Because remember, your voice is already in the written word, okay? So there you go. You have to narrate your own audiobook, all right? So we're going to take a quick break. What I want to do is give you more information and details about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, and we'll summarize what we've talked about today on the great audiobook debate. So we're going to take that quick break. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane, with Robert Lane Coaching. RobertLaneCoaching.com has all the information about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. We are streaming live, by the way, on the Bold Brave TV network. Thank you for tuning in. Don't go away. More coming back. More things to talk to you when we come back here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Hey, my friends, welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Glad you're here. Again, we're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. I do appreciate hanging out. Again, I am an audiobook coach and producer. That's what I do for a living, and I love doing it. It's a fantastic job doing two things I love doing: coaching, helping people, and audio. There you go, as an audio editor. So, again, today's topic has been the great audiobook debate, whether you should narrate your audiobook. The three main questions that we talked about is who is the best person to narrate your audiobook? And then we got into why you should even have an audiobook in the first place, and how hard can it really be to narrate your own audiobook. And I think we touched on that and covered some good reasons of why you really do need to do that. I do want to just talk just a little bit about the audiobook coaching program that I do teach. It is called Your Book, Your Voice. Again, you can go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more information about that. But basically what I do in the program is I do take you as a nonfiction author through the process from beginning to end, from setup and preparation to the fine art of doing narration to publication on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. Those three platforms that get you published on for sure. Now, again, there are other distribution platforms that you can be published on, and if that is something that you want to do, I can definitely help you with that as well. But the way the program works is this. You set up your own recording space. And to help you set up your recording space, I provide you with the professional equipment that you need. A professional microphone, professional headphones. We go over the program that you will use for recording, and we get you set up with ACX, which is the umbrella company of Amazon that handles Audible, Amazon, and Apple. We get you all set up with them with your account, and so that you're ready for publication. I teach you how to name your files, how to store your files, everything that you need. This is all part of the setup and preparation phase of it. The next phase, of course, is teaching you the tools and techniques that you need to know to do a great audiobook narration. You don't want to sound reedy. You don't want to sound monotone. You don't want to sound boring. You want your listener to be compelled and engaged from opening credits to closing credits. You really want your listener to be on the edge of their seat as they listen to you tell your story. And there are many tools and techniques that we really deep dive into through the program. Now, as you are recording your audiobook, you are sending your audio files to me to do the editing, where I clean them up for you, make sure they meet the exact specifications for publication. So we do all the editing for you, and then we'll also upload your files for publication. So if there is an issue, if for some reason there is, we usually don't have any, but once in a while, you'll get an audio that's flagged for being maybe 1 decibel too loud or 1 decibel too soft or whatever it is. But then we know what's wrong. We know what needs to be fixed. We make all the adjustments, re-output a fresh file, upload it, and make sure that every single audio file that's being uploaded is good for publication. So you are 100% guaranteed to be published. Now, since this is a do it with you program, I am your audiobook coach. And we meet every week one-on-one to go through every step of the program, every step and every phase of getting your audiobook together. Because not only am I your coach, all right, I'm your accountability partner. I'm going to make sure to keep you on track. I'm there as your support system, as your safety net, to help you if you're having any problems or issues, or maybe you're having a hard time with your narration. That's what I'm here for, okay? And the other thing, of course, is that you do have video lessons that go along with the program. So not only do we meet one-on-one, but there's lessons that really are very methodical and step-by-step to help you through the entire process. And of course, there's downloadable PDFs for you to have as reference material to help you as well. And we also do talk about marketing strategies to launch your audiobook, to get out there in the marketplace, and to talk about a variety of ways of using your audiobook to help you, especially if you do offer other services like coaching or products that can help boost revenue from that aspect as well. So it's a really all-encompassing program. I guess it's the best word I can say to describe it. It is all encompassing because I'm there for you every step of the way. Now, I do talk to every potential author who's interested in the program. I talk with you first before we even get you enrolled, because I do want to find out more about your book and what your goals are and what you're striving for with your audiobook. And because the program, since it is one-on-one, it is tailored for your specific needs. So all you need to do is schedule a call with me. That's why it's really important for you to book a call, because I like talking to you, because you know that we are establishing a business relationship. And just as much as you want to resonate with me, I want to resonate with you. So all you need to do is schedule a call. That link again is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Schedule your call. Let's talk and we'll get you enrolled. And remember, mention the podcast and I'll give you an extra 10% off the program. All right. You can always go to robertlanecoaching.com for more information, because everything is there, and you can hear clips again of other authors who have gone through the program and hear how they did. And they did a great job, and you can too. All right. So with that, my friends, we're just about ready to wrap things up. My assignment to you is this: when you are out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness can be the best thing that has happened to that person all day. All right. So be good humans. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Go to robertlanecoaching.com for more information. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll talk to you next week, my friends. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.